Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. If we put this in a place value grid, and so we've got thousands, hundreds, tens, and units. We've got 9, 0, 8, 8. So it's 9,000, because it's 9 lots of thousands, and 8 tens, so it would be 80. And we've got 8 units, so 8. If there were 39 people on the bus and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. And we can't cancel that any further. So with this question, we need to first of all count how many sides this polygon has. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 10 sides. And we just need to know that a 10-sided shape is a decagon. Now we are expected to know all of the names of shapes between 3 and 10 sides, so if you don't know them already, just sit down and learn them. If I split this shape into 2 sets of 6 blocks, when we're asked to shade in 3/6, for each one of those, or each set of blocks, I'm going to shade in 3 of the 6. So that's 3 for the first set, and this is 3 for the second set. And that's our answer. Now you might notice that 3 over 6 is the same as a half, because we can divide on 1 by 3, and so all I need to do is shade in a half. Or you might convert 3 over 6 into 6 over 12, and there's 12 squares altogether, so it's 6 of the 12 squares. There's lots of ways of doing this question. To find a fraction of amount, what we do is we divide by the bottom of the fraction times by the top. So we're going to do 60, and we're going to divide it by the bottom of the fraction, the denominator, which is 3. And 60 divided by 3 is 20. Then we're going to do 20 times 1, which will just remain 20. So our answer is 20 kilograms. So a prime number is a number that is only in the 1 times table and its own times table. So 4, for example, is not a prime number because it is also in the 2 times table. 6 is in the 2 times table. 15 is in the 3 times table. 21 is also in the 3 times table. 9 is also in the 3 times table. Now 1 is a bit of a special case. The definition is that it has to be in 1 and its own times table, and technically 1 is only in one of those. So 1 is not a prime number. The smallest prime number is actually 2, but 2 is not in this list. 23, though, is not in any other times table, so 23 is a prime number. To find the factors of 30, we're just going to write down all the factor pairs, or all the pairs of numbers that multiply together to make 30. So 1 times 30 is 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, now 4 doesn't go because 30 is not in the 4 times table. 5 times 6, and we notice that if we pick 6, it's just going to be 6 times 5, it's just going to be the opposite. So the factors are all the numbers that we've just written down, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. So for shop A, they're selling the rulers in lots of 3. And so we just need to get our 60 and divide it by 3 to figure out how many lots of 3 we have. So we've got 20. So if one bundle of rulers costs £1.50, then 20 times £1.50 would be £30. So in total it would cost £30 at shop A. We're going to do the same for shop B. Their bundles are 5 rulers, so we're going to do 60 divided by 5, which is 12. So we're going to buy 12 bundles at £2 each, and that will be £24. So the cheapest price is at shop B at £24. So if we just add the amount of sides each of these shapes has, a triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, hexagon 6. And notice what's happening with the number of edges. They're multiplied by 3. Each time they're multiplied by 3. So all we need to do is get the 15, multiply it by 3, which will be 45. So there will be 45 edges. Median just means middle, but it's the middle of the ordered list. So the first thing we need to do is put these numbers in order. So we're going to have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. And to find the middle, what we do is we cross off the smallest and the largest, and we put our pen away. Then we do the same thing again, smallest, largest, pen away. Now, you see here that I can't cross out the smallest and largest because that will leave no numbers at all. So when you're left with 2 in the middle, all you need to do is add them together and divide by 2. So 5 plus 6 is 11. And 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. And if you look, 5.5 is exactly halfway between 5 and 6. For this question, we're going to have to remember BIDMAS or BODMAS. So we're going to first of all look and see if we've got any brackets. Well, we do. We've got the 11 squared minus 21 in brackets, so we're going to be looking at that bit first. Inside the brackets, though, we don't have any brackets. But we do have an indice. We've got that 11 squared. So we're going to deal with that first. So 11 squared is 121. So we've got rid of the indice, but we're still looking at the bracket. So we're going to do 121 minus 21, which is going to be 100. Now we have no more brackets, no more divisions, but we do have a multiplication. So it's going to be 300, and that's our answer. So we're going to first of all work out what 100% of 260 is, and that's just 260. Next we're going to work out what 10% is. And 10% is very easy because we just divide it by 10. So 260 divided by 10 is 26. And we also need a 5, so I'm going to try and grab a 5%. And we do that by halving the 10%. So that'd be 13. And then all we need to do is add the 26 to the 13, because the 10 plus the 5% are 15. And that's 39. So our answer is 39. Here we have a triangle, and we've got an angle of 48 degrees. We've got this right angle, which is 90 degrees, and we're looking for x. So what we need to do is we need to realise that the 3 angles will add up to 180 because it's a triangle. So what we're going to do to find x is just subtract the 2 angles which we know. So we're going to subtract the 90 degrees plus the 48 degrees from 180. And in brackets we're just going to say the reason, and it's angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So when we do that, we do 180, take away 90 plus 48, and you get 42 degrees. We have to count how many 3's there are multiplied together by themselves. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be 3 to the power of 5. And how many 7's? 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 7 to the power of 3. So BIDMAS tells us we need to do the indices first, and then we do the adding. So we go to the indices. 12 squared means 12 times 12, and that would be 144. 6 squared means 6 times 6, which is 36. So we're going to do 144, the 12 squared, plus the 6 squared, so plus the 36, and that will be 180. So what we need to do is find out where the graph is at its highest, and so it's highest here. And so if we go down from there, we find out what year it is. Well, these years seem to be going up in one, so that's 1950, 1951, 1952. So the answer would be 1952. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether. So we're told that the ratio of red, yellow and green is 3 to 2 to 4. So to work out how many parts there are altogether, we do 3 plus 2 plus 4, which is 9 parts. So there's 9 equal piles of sweets. Okay, but to work out what one part or one pile of sweets is worth, we're going to get the 99 sweets and divide it by the amount of piles, and that's going to be 11. So one part is worth 11 sweets. We're asked to find out how many yellow sweets, and yellow is the middle one, so it's going to be the 2. So yellow has 2 piles of 11 sweets. 2 times 11 is going to be 22, so it's going to be 22 sweets. So you do need to know the parts of a circle. So the full distance around the circle is called the circumference. If you've got a little bit of it, it's an arc. If you've got a line across it, that would be a chord, and the part that's kind of trapped in there is called a segment. Then if you've got a line across the circle going through the centre, that's a diameter. If you've got a line just going to the centre, if I can draw it properly, then that's called a radius. If you've got a line that touches the circle just on one point, like that, that's a tangent. But in this case, we have a sector. So for this question, we just need to pick one of the coordinates. I'm just going to pick this one here. And we just need to work out what the coordinates are. Well, it's going up in 2, so it's going to be 4 on this side. And this is kind of 4.5, so that's going to be 19 there. So we know it's 19 at the bottom and 4 at the side here. So we're going to have a look on our table for a 4 and a 19. We've got a 19 and 23 here. It's got to be a 4 and a 19, which is here. And it shows that the 4 is for paper 1 and the 19 is for paper 2. So our answer will just be paper 2. To multiply fractions, all you need to do is multiply the tops. 3 times 7 is 21, and multiply the bottoms. 4 times 11 is 44. We see whether we can simplify this, but actually there's no number that goes into 21 and 44, so it's 21 over 44 is our answer. Let's rewrite this expression, but with a time sign in, so v times w squared. Now w squared just means times by itself, so we can rewrite that as v times w times w. Okay, so we know v is minus 10, so minus 10. And we know w is minus 4, so it's times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so when you multiply, it doesn't matter which order we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these ones first, and I'm going to ignore that times minus 4 at the end. So minus 10 times minus 4, that's a minus times a minus, which is a positive, 10 times 4, which is 40, times minus 4. Now we're going to do 40 times minus 4, so it's a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And 40 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, so 40 times 4 is 160. So it's going to be minus 160. So we start off by working out what 100% of 240 is. Well, that's obviously going to be 240. And a nice easy one to start off with is 10%. We're trying to get to 21%, so 10% is always a good one to start with. So we divide by 10, which would be 24. And because we try to get to 21%, we'll need to find out what 1% is. And 1%, we just divide the 10% by 10 again, so it would be 2.4. And then we need to find out what 20% is. And 20%, we just double the 10%, so it would be 48. And so 21% is this plus this, because 1 plus 20 is 21. So we add these together, so 2.4 plus 48. Probably don't need to do this formally. Probably do this in our heads. So 50.4, but it says to increase 240 by that amount. So we need to get 240. We need to add the 50.4. Probably, again, don't need to show the working out for this. We can do this in our heads, but it's a bit easier to see what we're doing. So the answer would be 290.4. To find the surface area of the cuboid, I'm just going to label the faces and do them individually. So we've got A, which is 24 by 13. So we're going to do 24 times 13, which is 312. Next we're going to do B, which is this one at the top, and it's 24 across and 8 is the length. So 24 times 8, which is 192. And finally C on this side here, which is going to be 13 times 8, which is 104. Now notice that the faces all have the exact same face on the opposite side. So this one at the back is also A, this one at the side is also C, and the one at the bottom is also B. So what I'm going to do is add up all the areas of the squares and double it. So to work out the surface area, we're going to do 2 times and then 312 plus 192 plus 104, and that will give me 1,216 centimeters cubed squared, because it's an area. So with a stem leaf diagram, the numbers in the middle often represent tens. They could be units. So we look at the key first of all, and we see that 3 line 9 means 93. So the numbers in the middle are going to represent 10. So this is a 90. Now we're looking for English, so this will be 92. So our first number will be 92. Then this will be 10 tens and a 4. So it would be 104. 11 tens and 1. So 111, and then 11 tens and 2. So to find the median, we go cross out the biggest and smallest until we're left with 1 or 2 in the middle. Here we're left with 2. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add the 104 to the 111, and we're just going to divide that by 2. So when we do that, we get 107.5, or 0.5. So our answer is 107.5. To be able to add or subtract fractions, we must make the denominators the same. So what we do is we write out the 5 and 7 times tables. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And you keep going through each times table until you get to a number that's the same in both. You can see it's 35 here. So we're going to times top and bottom by something to make the denominator 35. So for this first one, it's going to be 7. So we're going to times top and bottom by 7. For the second one, it's going to be 5. So 2 times 7 is 14, and then the bottom will be 35, the denominator. And then 2 times 5 is 10, and the denominator will be 35. Then when we have that, we take away the numerators. So 14 take away 10 is 4, and that just leaves 4 over 35. So we can see whether we can cancel it, and we can't. So the answer is just 4 over 35. To find the midpoint, we can use this simple formula. And we're going to start off by finding the midpoint for the x component. And the formula is just adding the 2 x coordinates and dividing by 2. So we're just going to add the 2 x coordinates together. So we've got 2 plus minus 1 divided by 2. And that's going to be 1/2. Or 0.5. Do the same thing for the y coordinates, and the formula is the same, but just with adding the y coordinates together and dividing by 2. So it's going to be -5 plus 2, all of that divided by 2. So that's going to be -3 over 2, or -1.5. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether. So oil has 21 parts, vinegar has 5, so altogether there's 21 plus 5, which is 26 parts. Now, how many of those parts are vinegar? Well, vinegar is the second one, so it's going to be this 5. So vinegar has 5 out of the 26 parts, or a fraction would be 5 over 26. The median is the middle number when the numbers are in order. Now, it's quite difficult to do with a table, so we used a formula, and that formula is to find the position of the median. We do how many numbers there are, which I'll call n, we add 1 to it, and then we divide that by 2. And that shows us where the median is. It doesn't tell us what the median is, it shows us where it is. Now, we need to figure out where these numbers are in this list. So the first number is a 2, and there is 1 of those. The next number is a 3, and there's 3 of those. So 1, 2, 3. The next number is a 4, and there's 4 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The next number is a 5, and there's 8 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the next number is a 6, and there's 13 of those. Now, I'm not going to do all of them, okay, because we're not going to be working out the median by writing out all the numbers, but I do want to show you where these numbers are coming from. So what we do is we do a running total. So I'm going to do a running total. The running total is just adding up the frequencies as we go. So the first one is just 1. Then we're going to add the 3 in the next row, so that's 4. Add the 4 in the next row, 8. Add the 8 in the next row, 16. Add the 13 in the next row, and that would be 29. Now, we use the running total because the running total shows us where the last number is in that group. Okay, so this shows us that the first number is the last number that is a 2, which is true, we can see it here. This 4 shows us that the fourth number is the last number that's a 3, so let's check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, it works. This 8 shows us the 8th number is the last number that's a 4, let's check that. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This 16 shows us the 16th number is the last number that's a 5. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And this 29 here shows us that the 29th number is just the last number, but it's the last number that's a 6th. Okay, so let's work out how many numbers there are. And we do that by adding up the frequency. So we're just going to add up all of the frequency together, and we find out that there's 29 numbers altogether. So 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8 plus 13. So using our formula, which is 29 plus 1 divided by 2. 29 plus 1 is 30, divided by 2 is 15. So we're looking for the 15th number. So looking down our running total list, well, the last number that's a 4 is the 8th number, so we haven't got to the 15th number yet. And the last number that's a 5 is the 16th number. So if the last number that's a 5 is the 16th number, then surely the 15th must also be a 5. And so our median is 5. Okay, so we're going to start by writing this out a little bit bigger, give us a bit more space. So it's minus 6x is less than 60. And we're going to do our tram lines down. And we're going to start by dividing both sides by minus 6. Because that's what this is doing, it's timesing the x by minus 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by minus 6. So that gets rid of the minus 6 on the left hand side. And it's going to be 60 divided by minus 6, which will be minus 10. Now we've got to be really careful here, because whenever you times or divide both sides by a negative, you must switch the inequality. So instead of pointing to the left, it's now going to point to the right. So our answer is x is greater than minus 10. Whenever we do these kind of questions, it's always best to convert the pattern into numbers. So we're just going to count the dots. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 in the first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So our sequence is going 9, 13, 17. And we're going to see what it's going up in. So we're adding 4 each time. And that means our sequence will involve 4n. And then what we do is we go backwards 1 to find the 0th term. So we're going to take away 1. So 9 take away 1 is 5. So the 0th term is 5. And the 0th term just tells us what to add on to the 4n. So 4n plus 5 will be our answer. To find the pressure, we need the area and the force. And we're given the force in the question, and so all we need to do is find out what the area is, which will be the 7 times the 9, which will be 63 centimeters squared. And the force is given to us in the question, so what we can do is write down the pressure formula, which says that pressure equals the force divided by the area. Force is given to us as 2268. The area we've calculated is 63. Divide the 2 and you get 36. So it's going to be 36 newtons per centimetre squared. So I'm going to start off just with a quick sketch, and we know that the bearing of B from A is 85 degrees. So we're going to have A here and B here. And let's just draw a line between them, and let's do both our north lines. And so we know that this angle here is 85 because it's the angle on the bearing of B from A, so it's 85 degrees. So now it says work out the bearing of A from B. So the first thing we can do is actually just draw a line going down here, and we know that this angle here will also be 85 degrees because of alternate angles. It's always best to write that down somewhere, so we can just put in brackets here alternate angles, and we know that this angle here is going to be 180 degrees because it's a straight line. And I'm not a fan of doing the reasons on the diagram, so maybe perhaps I should have labelled this an x and this a y and written x equals 85 and y equals 180 somewhere else. And so to work out what the bearing is, I just need to do 180 plus 85. So 180 plus 85 is going to be 265 degrees. The important thing to realise in this question is that we know a female has been selected, so we can just basically get rid of all of this part of the frequency tree because it's not relevant, because we know a female has been selected. So there's 29 females altogether, and we're looking for the probability that the female chosen at random picked action. So it's just simply 16 over 29. If I start by drawing a number line, and we're going to put the 110 in the middle. Now I'm going to label the next one down and the next one up. It says to the nearest 10, so the next one down would be 100, and the next one up would be 120. Now we're interested in the cutoff, and the cutoff point is between the two numbers. Okay, so that's the cutoff point. If it goes above that cutoff point, it would have rounded to the next number up. So if the number was here, it would round to 120. If the number is on the cutoff point, which we can see is going to be 115, then we know it would round up. So we need to find the biggest number in this part here. So this part here, and it includes this line actually, so it includes this line. So all the numbers that would have rounded to 110 would have been 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, which would be here. But if it was 115, it would have rounded to 120. So 114 is the biggest number it could have been before rounding to 120. And we know it didn't round to 120 because in the question it says it's 110 to the nearest 10. So our answer is 114. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out. And we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440 because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets, so that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that would be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. And we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. So it's really important, first of all, we make clear about how we convert things. So if I've got a unit in kilometers and I want to convert it into meters, then we know we just times it by 1,000. So 2 kilometers is 2,000 meters. But if I have something in kilometers squared and I want to convert it into meters squared, I actually times it by 1,000 squared, which is 1,000 times 1,000. Okay, so I'm actually timesing it by not 1,000, but 1,000 squared. So that's another 3 zeros. You can see here that that's 1,000,000. So we times it by 1,000,000. So 13 kilometers squared is going to be the 13, and then it's going to be times by 1,000,000. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 13 million. Now, it says here the farmer must pay 1 pence tax for every metre squared. So this is going to be 13 million metres squared. And so that's going to cost him or her 13 million pence. But the answer is going to be in pounds. So we just need to get rid of 2 of the zeros at the end. So it's going to be 13, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be £130,000. There's a few different methods to find product of prime factors, but I prefer using the bubble method. So we put a circle around 75, and we want to split it up into 2 numbers, so 2 numbers that multiply together to make it. I always pick the smallest that I can think of, which is normally 2, but in this occasion, the easiest one for me would be 5. I think also 3 goes into it, but 5 to me seems nice and easy. It doesn't always have to be the smallest that I pick. So 5 times what is 75? Well, 5 times 15 is 75. And then to make 15, we're going to do 3 times 5. And the reason why I've done some of these bubbles in red is that those are the prime factors, which means they can go to 1 and 5, but if you do 1 and 5, you'll be there all day. So we always stop when we do the prime numbers. And so we're going to write these in a list. So 3, 5, and 5. The product means that we put a time sign between them. But if you notice here we've got 5 times 5, so a different way of writing that in index form is 5 squared. So our answer will be 3 times 5 squared. To rearrange this, I'm just going to write out the equation again. And I'm going to put my lines in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is try and make the x positive, because we're looking to make x the subject of the formula, which means we need it to be x equals. So what I'm going to do is just add x both sides. So we've got x plus m equals 10. Then we want to get rid of anything on the left hand side that's not this x. So we want to get rid of this plus m. So we're going to do that by subtracting m both sides. So we've got x equals 10 minus m. So our answer is 10 minus m. X equals 10 minus m. So Pythagoras says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And the c is the one opposite the right angle. So I'm going to label this a and b. So it'd be 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. 25 plus 144 is equal to c squared, and then 25 plus 144 is 169. And then we're solving to find out what c is, and we're just going to square root both sides. So square root of 169 is 13, so c is 13. I'm going to write this out just a bit bigger so we can see what's going on. And there are loads of different methods for expanding brackets. I'm going to use smile and rainbows. So smile there, rainbow there, and I always put a little notch here to remind me to times it. So we're going to do 4 times 8, which is 32, and x times x, which is x squared. Then we're going to do 4 times 3, which is 12, and x is just there. So when we expand that, we get 32x squared plus 12x. So we can write this as a fraction, so it would be 2.84 times 10 to the power of 11 over 4 times 10 to the power of minus 2. What we can do is split this up into two fractions, so 2.84 over 4 times 10 to the power of 11 over 10 to the power of 2. Or minus 2. Okay, so we're going to start by doing 2.84 divided by 4. So we're going to just do the bus stop method. So 4 on the outside, and we've got 2.84 on the inside. 4's into 2 don't go, so carry the 2 across. 4's into 28 go 7, and 4's into 4 go 1. So it's going to be 0.71. times, and then the rules of indices say that if you divide two powers of the same base, they're both 10, then you just take away the power. So it's 11 take away minus 2. Now the two minuses, the two takeaways, actually convert to a plus, so it would be 11 plus 2, which would be 13, so it would be 10 to the power of 13. Now we've got a bit of a problem here, because standard form must have a number between 1 and 10, and not including 10 at this position here, and this is obviously less than 1, so we need to convert this into standard form. So what we can do is just write the number out again. So I'm going to write this as an actual number, so it's 10 to the power of 13, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Fill in the zeros. So it'd be 7, 1 and all those zeros. And then I'm going to put it back into standard form. Now the decimal point will need to be here to make it 7.1. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's going to be 7.1 times 10 to the power of 12. Now, with a bit of practice, you don't need to write out the whole number. You'll be able to just know that if you convert that into 7.1, then you just need to take away 1 from the power. But if you're not sure, and it's not an unreasonable number like 10 to the power of 105, then it's just worth sometimes just writing out the actual number and being 100% sure that you've got it the right way around. With this question, you've just got to know what the different functions look like. So with C and D, we've got quadratic functions. One's a positive quadratic, which is a U shape. One's a negative quadratic, which is a kind of upside down U shape or an N shape. And here we don't have that, so we can get rid of those in our thoughts straight away. A is a positive cubic, which goes up, then down, then up again. And B is a negative cubic, which goes down, up, and then down again. So this one here goes up, down, up again. That's going to be a positive cubic. So our answer is A. So when we're doing column vectors and adding and subtracting them, we just literally add and subtract the top and bottom numbers. So A plus B minus C will be, just looking at the top, 9 plus 18 minus 9, 9 plus 18 minus 9, which will equal 18. And the bottom will be 9 plus minus 18, so really minus 18, and minus 9. And so that will be minus 18. So our column vector will become 18 minus 18. We're going to start by focusing on the A and B, which is 8 and 16. So in the middle is going to be 8 and 16. The next thing we're going to focus on is the fact that A is all the multiples of 4. Now 8 and 16 have both already been taken because they're in the middle. So the remaining multiples of 4 are the 4 there and the 12 there. So the next ones I'm going to focus on is the A or B. So A or B is in A, in B, or in the middle. So if we cross out the ones we've already used, so we've already used the 8 and 16 and the 4 and the 12, that leaves the 1 and the 9. We'll cross that out of our other list. And there's only 2 left in our everything list at the top. We've got the 3 and we've got the 11. So on the outside we have 3 and we have 11. There's 2 parts to this power. I'm just going to do it a bit bigger so we can see. We've got the negative here, and the negative will mean that we will find the reciprocal, and we've got this 3 here, which is just what the power will be. So how do we find the reciprocal? Well, if you think about the number 10, if you had to write that as a fraction, you would write it as 10 over 1. And so to find the reciprocal of it, we're just going to flip that fraction. So this will now become 1 over 10. We haven't dealt with that cube yet. So we're going to cube top and bottom with that fraction. Well, it's not going to do anything to the top because 1 cubed is just 1. But the bottom will turn into 1,000. So it's going to be 1 over 1,000. So the first thing I notice is the second equation isn't really in the normal format for doing simultaneous equations. So I'm just going to rearrange it so that we have it where we want it to be. And I'm just going to put my lines in so I can rearrange. So the first thing I want is I want the x's and y's on the same side. In fact, actually all I need to do is take away 4y from both sides, and we get 5x minus 4y equals minus 7. Okay, so what we do now is we put both our equations down so we can solve these simultaneously. So 5x minus 4y equals minus 7. And you notice the coefficient of the y is already the same, so we don't need to multiply anything. But the signs are different, and the d in different is the d in add. So we're going to add going downwards. So we're going to add everything. So we're doing 3x plus 5x, which is 8x. 4y plus minus 4y is nothing, which is good, because we want to get rid of that. And 47 take away 7 is 40. All right. Let's put our solving lines in. And we're going to divide by 8 both sides. So we get x equals 5. And we're going to substitute that value into one of the equations. I'm going to pick this top one. So instead of 3x, we're doing 3 times 5 plus 4y equals 47. Get my solving lines in. So that will be 15 plus 4y equals 47. And then we're going to take away the 15 both sides. And so it's 4y equals 47, take away 15, which is 32. Divide by 4 both sides. And we get y equals 8. Now we can check that using this equation here. So 5 times 5 is 25. Take away 4 times 8, which is 32, is minus 7. So we know we've got it right. So we need to first of all work out what the length of the side of the square is. And to do that, what we do is we get the 44v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we just divide it by 4. And to do that, all we need to do is just divide the coefficient by 4. So it'd be 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5. Some people will try and do something with the v to the power 4 w to the power 5, but if you think about it, if I just draw out my square, if it's 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5 all the way around, when you add, you don't add the v to the power 4 w to the power 5, it's just going to be 11 lots, another 11 lot, another lot of 11, and another lot of 11. So it's 44 v to the power 4 w to the power 5 in total. And to work out what the area is, we obviously are going to square that. So we're going to do 11 v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we're going to just times it by itself, which is what squaring means. Okay, so we're going to times the 11s together, so that's going to be 121. Going to times the v to the power 4s together, and remember with indices, if you times 2 powers of the same base, and they're both v, then we just add the powers together, so that'd be 8. And we're going to add the w to the power 5s together, so that makes 10. So it's 121 v to the power of 8, w to the power of 10. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.